Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and anybody else who is joining us here today. This, of course, is the Sheffield United Way, and today is our match preview before we go to Portsmouth at the weekend. Now, before we get started, just going to do a quick word for our video sponsor. And Sheffield United Way is delighted that IPM Group UK is our latest channel sponsor. IPM Group UK are South Yorkshire's experts in security, CCTV and facilities management. They help keep stadiums, businesses and events safe and running smoothly. It's a huge thank you to IPM Group UK for everything they do to support the channel and to support the Blades. But let's get into it now. Let's get back to this game. So it kicks off at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Saturday, of course, being the 14th of Feb, better known as Valentine's Day. And now I can't think of a better way to spend my Valentine's Day, or at least to plan my Valentine's Day, than by spending it with two lovely gentlemen. Connor, Andrew, how are you doing? Connor, I'll come to you first. How are you doing?
I'm all good, mate. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. I am working on Valentine's Day, so I won't be watching, unfortunately. But can't think of a better way to spend pre-Valentine's Day than doing a pre-match review and a predicted 11.
The best way to get all of that love kicked off is just by being all together. Andrew, welcome to the stream. How are you doing today, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. It's a weird coincidence. I'm also working on Valentine's Day, so not much love around that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm good, and hopefully talking about Portsmouth can put a bit of love into the air, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly that. I think the more I get to talk about somebody like, let's say, Patrick Bamford, the more I'm going to be excited for Valentine's Day. But that's enough about my private life. I don't think we need to keep talking about that. So obviously the last game was Middlesbrough on Monday night, and I did a very long stream with Sam earlier this week talking about my thoughts on the game, talking about how I felt the players had performed. But let's get your thoughts on this one, because for me, still, I'm just sat here thinking that was probably, in terms of quality, the game of the season. Connor, what were your reflections on United's performance on Monday night?
Yeah, it was a fantastic game from start to finish. I thought we started really, really well. I had it in the back of my head. I thought if we score first, we'll definitely win this tonight. But unfortunately, we didn't. Midfield got overrun. Aidan Hackney, Morris, two of the best midfielders in the league, just absolutely run City Peck and Ollie Arblaster ragged. And Middlesbrough run out deserved winners in the end, in my opinion. I thought it was a valiant effort from us. I do think that Middlesbrough are the best team in the league by a country mile under Hellberg. They play some fantastic football. They work hard. They're a really, really good team. But I was proud. I was proud of the way that we played. I thought we fought back into it. We showed some real fight until Joe Rothwell just ruined any chance that we had of potentially walking away with what could have been a well-deserved point. But on the overall basis of the game, I do think Middlesbrough deserved to win it. So no complaints for me, but there weren't a lack of effort there either. So I'm not going to slate us too much. I thought we played really, really well. Just got beat by the better team.
No, I think that's fair, Connor. I think it's a good reflection, because I do think we were playing the best team in the league, and I was proud of how we played on Monday night. Andrew, how did it make you feel about United? So coming into this game, are you more confident? Are you less confident? How are you feeling about United going forwards for the rest of this season after what we saw on Monday night?
A little bit more confident, I think. You know, I quite agree with everything Connor said, really. I think Middlesbrough are very good under Hellberg, and it's probably unfair to judge us too much by that standard. You know, they put the effort in and they came out the traps, and I think if that first goal goes United's way, who knows what happens. And ultimately maybe a point was deserved, but at 10 men it was going to be an ask, wasn't it? So yeah, it gives you hope for the future, but equally you might go against Portsmouth differently. It's a sort of match-up approach that we went with against Borough. We might not fly out those traps the same against Portsmouth. So let's see how each game goes, I think, is the best way to do it.
Indeed, and that transitions us quite nicely into thinking about our opposition for the game at the weekend. So Portsmouth, they're unbeaten in their last 5 home league games. They've won 3 and drawn the other 2. They've clawed themselves out of the relegation zone. They're not out of trouble. I think they're still only 1 point above, I think it's Blackburn and Leicester, who are in the relegation zone as it stands, but they do have 3 games in hand. Obviously, their rearranged game against Ipswich has been rearranged again because they couldn't get the game on. I don't think there's any risk of this one being called off, albeit we have had some snow predicted, and with Portsmouth track record, we'll not rule it out. But Connor, obviously, Portsmouth have built all of their sort of form over the last couple of seasons on how good they are at Fratton Park. I think they were sort of top 10 last year at home. This year, it's where they've got the bulk of their points, I think around 70%, 75%. Are you worried at all in terms of going away and how good they are at home at the minute?
Yes, because if anyone's looking at the reverse fixture thinking we beat them 3-0 at Bramall Lane and they're thinking it's going to be a similar story, it certainly won't. They're a completely different proposition when they're playing at home. Fratton Park's one of the toughest places to go in the league. When we played them there last season, I think it was 0-0, but we were very, very lucky to run out with a 0-0 draw that day. Michael Cooper made one of the best saves that I think I've ever seen a Sheffield United goalkeeper make. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. They've got some fantastic fans down there as well. They always bring a good following away, but at home, Fratton Park, it is a fortress for them. Like you said, they've won 3, drawn 2 out of the last 5, unbeaten in the last 5 at home. Yeah, not going to be an easy game at all.
Yeah, really difficult things. Andrew, from your perspective, who are the threats? Who should we be keeping an eye on in terms of this Portsmouth side? Because I know, obviously, we talk about Murphy a lot, one of the best wings in the league, but not having his best season. Where do you think they sit at the minute?
So, in terms of threats, I mean, Sedžić that they brought in from Australia, he's the main one, really. Top goal scorer with 6. There's only Ebu Adams that comes sort of close to that with 3, and Terry Devlin as well. But Adams, one of his goals has come in when he was playing for Derby, only just come in January. So you mentioned Murphy, and it's obviously important too, a quality player. However, there is the caveat of they currently have 11 players out injured. And Josh Murphy, I think it is his broken toe. So it's not looking good. From what I've read from their local press, it sounds as though John Messinio wasn't the most pleased with their current situation, if that's the way of putting it. So there will still be threats. We shouldn't take it for granted, but it's looking a potentially good thing for United anyway.
Yeah, never take it for granted. But yeah, if they've got 11 injuries and they're really struggling at the moment, suppose it actually gives a lot of credit to their recent games. You know, we've just said 5 unbeaten at home. They're obviously doing something right to fight through those injuries, still keep picking up the points. But Josh Murphy not being on the pitch certainly makes me feel a bit more confident in terms of where we might be looking at this game. But that's enough on Portsmouth. Let's start chatting about United, because we've talked about Middlesbrough, we've talked about Portsmouth. Sheffield United way. So come on, refocus ourselves. So I think there's going to be some really interesting debates about who's going to start for United in this game. But I don't think the first position is one that we're going to have a very good debate about. In goal, it's obvious Michael Cooper is going to start on Saturday. But Connor, are we worried at all about his form? Because obviously I felt he'd really improved through January. I think he was our player of the month on the Bladesman in terms of looking at sort of the scoring from the fans. But Oxford, mistake. Goal. Middlesbrough, his distribution was really quite poor. We found ourselves in difficult situations. Are you worried about his form at the moment and what that means for United going forward?
So the thing that worries me particularly about him is last season his distribution weren't great anyway. It was never the best, but he was one of the best shot stoppers in the league. If someone was through 1-on-1 with Michael Cooper, I was always confident that he was going to save it. I never felt like we were going to concede. But I think a big part of that, I know I've just used 1-on-1s as an example, but I think a big part of the reason that he looked as good as what he did last season was the defence. The defence was just solid from back to front. It was completely different to what we've got this season. I do think we have got some good players in Tyler Binden. He's proven me wrong. I'd written him off quite early on this season. I've always liked Tanganga, but I do just want to touch on, I thought he was one of the worst players on the pitch against Middlesbrough. I thought he had an absolutely shocking game. And but with Cooper, I think it does worry me the way that he's looking at the moment, because last season he was absolutely incredible with his shot stopping and things like that. But he's never been. I'm going to use the David De Gea comparison. He's never been a ball-playing goalkeeper, but he could save the Titanic from sinking. He was that good at times. This season, it just doesn't seem to be the case. I think it's well documented that a lot of people do seem to think he is playing through an injury, and I'm in that camp. I do think that is the case. So maybe we see the best of him again next season if he's still here. But yeah, it does worry me. But what can you do? You can't put Adam Davis in there. Adam Davis isn't reliable. Luke Faxon's not ready. So we're stuck with a half-fit Michael Cooper, which I will take over the other two at the moment. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely spot on. But one of the issues you really talked about there, Connor, is that defence in front of him and how much that's dropped off from where we were this time last year, particularly maybe the start of last season when obviously Harry Souttar was dominating week in, week out. Andrew, I'll come to you in terms of that back four. What are you thinking in terms of who should be starting this game? Obviously, in the last one, it was Femi Sirike, Tanganga and Bindon in the middle, Burrows out on the left. Do you see any changes? Would you like to see any changes? Are you as concerned as Connor in terms of some of that performance level in the middle?
I don't necessarily see changes, but I do think it's a great game to give Hjelde a go if he's ready to play. I don't see that there's any issue in letting him have that bit of physical presence just to add to the back line. Burrows did okay. He's still easing his way back in against Middlesbrough, but didn't do anything that sort of says he has to start. So I think as well with Hjelde, a few of the throw-ins he took went quite far into the box, and I think that's an asset. That's always an asset United like. So if he's a quicker Jack Robinson, then he's all right for me. But yeah, I mean the right back picks himself, Femi Sirike. Two centre backs also just about do, because I don't think Ben Mee's looked quite as good as he did pre-injury, and Mark McGuinness has looked all right, but I'd still take the other two.
So we had a big debate on this on Tuesday night, Connor, when we were doing our score predictions, our match ratings, going through the players. The comments were full of people saying, you put Ben Mee in that team and maybe we get a different result. Do you see that? Do you think Ben Mee coming in would have changed anything? I think we got the runaround by Tommy Conway with his pace, with his intelligent movement. I don't really see how we change that. Do you think there is an argument for Mee or McGuinness, or do you just think we have to write off we were up against a very good team and sometimes they're just going to be able to do that to you?
Tommy Conway is one of the most mobile number 9s in the league. Ben Mee is basically a pensioner. I love him. He's an absolutely fantastic centre-half. He's got a wealth of experience, and I think he is an asset to have in the squad, but it was completely the wrong game. Imagine Tommy Conway up against Ben Mee. Ben Mee wouldn't know where he was. Bindon and Tanganga struggled against him, and they are both reasonably mobile centre-halves, I'd say, and they've got really, really good ability. Ben Mee has the experience, but with the way that we like to play, especially at Bramall Lane, we like to push a little bit higher up the pitch. Ben Mee cannot play a high line, so Ben Mee would have been dropping off, and we probably would have been letting him get in a lot easier because we'd have had one centre half further back than the rest of the back line, and that just creates problems. So I don't think it was the right game for Ben Mee. I think it's not the back line that was the issue against Middlesbrough, in my opinion. It was more of the midfield.
Indeed. So I think, the right back picks himself. It's got to be Femi Sirike. I think Tanganga Bindon is certainly what we'd be predicting. I think there is an argument for Hjelde coming in here. I think there is a suggestion he could step in. I think Burrows has had a really difficult season. He's one of the players who's regressed most in terms of the level they were performing at last year. And so that feels like a 50-50. I think I'd give the edge to trying Hjelde for this one. Let's see what he's got. We've brought him in. Let's give him a go. You touched on the bigger issues, and there is nobody in the world who I want to ask this question of more. Connor, I don't think I know anybody who's got stronger beliefs than you. Who do you think should play in midfield, and what do you think the issues were with United's midfield on Monday night?
Well, I thought it was a tailor-made game for Samari, and there's a lot of people that are going to give me absolute pelters for that. But in terms of the game that it was, and we needed to win that midfield battle, we needed to be physical. We needed somebody that's got long legs that can make tackles from behind and just get the legs stuck in, so we can try and build a counter attack just from poking the ball away from Middlesbrough's midfielders. Ollie Arblaster and Sidney Peck are not capable of that. They are very similar players, both themselves. They've got very similar abilities in terms of what they can do. the metronomes. They keep the midfield ticking over. They're not somebody that's going to break the play up and then advance you by moving forward. Samare, don't get me wrong, not being one of the best players this season, but I've seen him have a couple of absolutely fantastic performances where I compared him to Dalsim from Street Fighter because his legs just seem to stretch across the entirety of the pitch at times, and he chains tackles together really, really well. And I think if Samari was on it on Monday, he could have completely spun that midfield battle on his head, and it would have been more of a balanced game. And I would have fancied us to run out as not comfortable winners, because you're never going to be comfortable against Borough, but I would have definitely fancied our chances a lot more. As soon as I'd seen that midfield on Monday, I knew, even though it was a closer game than I was anticipating, I knew the game was lost, and I knew we were never going to survive that. And Sidney Peck, I've never been the biggest fan of him, as most people know who've watched the channel, but I do feel like he has proved me wrong a lot recently, but it felt like he regressed on Monday as well. But I'm not going to pin that on him too much, because I think it's because he's playing with Oliver Arblaster, who shouldn't be anywhere near the starting lineup at the moment. Nothing against him at all. It's just one of those things. He's not ready, and you can see he's not ready. And I wish Wilder would just take him out of the firing line, because he has got the potential to be a fan favourite for years to come. Yeah. This could sour the relationship, because through no fault of his own, he's getting thrown into the deep end when he's not ready. So
yeah. No, I think that's absolutely fair in terms of that assessment. I've described the partnership between Peck and Blaster as just being dysfunctional. I just think they try and play the same game too much. They don't understand when to go. They end up going together or not going at all. If they do try and structure themselves differently, they leave too much of a gap. I made this comparison on Tuesday night, but there was a point where there were 4 Middlesbrough players stood in a line in between the two of them. So as soon as the ball came in, Peck was out of the game and Blaster was 4-on-1, or Blaster was out of the game and Peck was 4-on-1, and it just doesn't work. You've got to structure yourself so much more intelligently than that.
It was flashbacks to the Sayers ball at the beginning of the season. That's what it was. The midfield just getting completely bypassed, like instantly. One pass and Middlesbrough were running at the back line, which is no good. Midfield battle is where you win most of the games in the Championship and in football in general. If you've got the better midfield and your midfield's on form, 9 times out of 10, you're going to give yourself a really, really good platform to go on and win the game. So,
Andrew, that brings us to the big question of the video. And I'd just like to shout out Joshua Gray, because he has made a much better name for this video than we have come up with ourselves. We've gone for to Kalvin or not to Kalvin. Very clearly, this video should have been Kalvin or Calv out. And I cannot believe we didn't get the pun right. So great work from Joshua and Nick. Change the title as soon as you get the chance. Andrew, do we Kalvin or do we Calv out? What 2 would you pick then for this partnership in the middle?
It's like being in a game show at the end, isn't it? Where they're like, do you want to sort of split or steal? I'd say in if he's fit, but maybe it's a game too early. I think Portsmouth's a perfect game for him to come in, but is it a game too early? Maybe. I think as soon as he came on the other night, he looked a level above what we have, which he should do, with his pedigree. But equally similar to Rothwell, if you give him 90 minutes, would he look like he's blowing a bit? Most likely, because he's only played 7 minutes before. So do you get the best out of him from starting? Maybe not. If you bring him on as sort of, as we did against Borough, and he just pings the ball about as he did for the goal, then maybe that's the way to get the goals if it's not coming, because, it could be a 0-0 for 70 minutes. You never know. And then, you need that bit of spark. And I think he is that for United that we don't currently have elsewhere. So it should be in, but I'm tentative to say it's probably not from the beginning.
So we don't think Peck and Blaster work. We think Phillips, probably it's a game too soon. I would love to see him start. I think he's a class above. I think had he not been suspended, Rothwell would be starting alongside Peck in this one. I think that's why we put him on to get 45 minutes. We were getting time in his legs. Him missing out here does limit the options. So finally to you then, Connor, Is it Samare, do we think? And if so, there's a second question. Which lone player drops out in terms of the bench? Is it just Ogbeni drops out and Samare can come into the team? Because obviously that is one of the limitations here.
Well, that's what I'd have gone for on Monday. I'd have dropped Ogbene out and put Samare in because I think Samare would have been a lot more useful. Obviously, Ogbene didn't even get off the bench on Monday. I think he might have for the last 5 minutes if Rothwell didn't get sent off.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go Samare against Portsmouth. I think it was a tailor-made game for him on Monday because the game is going to be won and lost in the midfield in that game on Monday. With Portsmouth like to play a lot down the sides. That's their game. They like to get it down the wings and obviously cross the ball into the box and gamble on second balls. Who would I go for?
I cannot wait for Connor to go for Peck and Blaster here. Honestly, the scenes.
He's setting up for it.
Right. I'm starting Phillips. I'm giving Phillips 50 minutes. I'm giving him 50, 55 minutes and then bring our Blaster on. hopefully we're in front by that point. I think you've got to gamble. I'll tell you who would be perfect if he was fit for this game. It'd be Jairo Riedewald, but I don't think he's fit. So unfortunately, I would have gone Jairo if everybody were fit, but I'm starting Phillips. You gamble him, get 50, 55 minutes into his legs, see how he's feeling, show us what he's all about, because we haven't got him for long either. So we need to see what he's about while we've got him.
Yeah, I think you've heard it here first. It's Kalvin, and I would start him as well. I think it's got to be Peckham Phillips for me, if that is at all possible. I completely understand the reasons. If it's not that, I can understand trying to protect his fitness. But I think to try and get 45, 50 minutes out of him is the best thing we can do here. I think it makes us so much a better team. And hopefully it means that he can then start contributing week in, week out as well. So yeah, I would go for that. In terms of the front four, I'll go first on this because I think this is really easy. I think you probably go with Brooks, Callum O'Hare, Gus Harmer, and then Paddy Bamford. That feels like a natural pick. There was a suggestion, though, and Andrew, I'll come to you on this first to see if you've got any similar thoughts on this. Sam, when we were chatting this through, said that he thought Brooks looked like he might be carrying a knock. He looked as though, I think it was in the end of the game against Oxford, where he was really struggling around the pitch. He'd been limping a little bit. He felt his effectiveness on Monday night was a bit lacking, maybe a little bit less energy than you'd normally see from him. Do you think there's a chance he's carrying injury? And therefore, do you think there's any chance we might see somebody like Ogbeni or Chong come into the side?
It's going to have to be a big knock, I think, to take him out. I think he'll start. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't quite as effective, but that's also, credit to Borough as well. They'll have targeted him and sort of took him out of the game because arguably on form is the biggest threat that we have, even more so than Bamford in some ways. So I wouldn't change it. I'd be tempted to see what he does on the left with Harmer, just because, as Connor said, with the wing play that Portsmouth sort of have, their two most effective players are the right back and the right wing in terms of goals created and goals scored. So is that, if it is Harmer and Burrows, obviously we've said Helder should get in, but if it is, then that could be bypassed quite easily, and it would be very likely that they will just play down the right. So I'd be tempted to maybe put someone else in that could track if it is Burrows, but I don't know who that is. So
that's a very good point in regards to the worries coming down that left-hand side. What do you think, Connor? Obviously, I thought Monday night Burrows struggled a little bit at left-back, but I did think he was being doubled up on. I thought as though we'd got a complete lack of support for him down that left. Do you think we do need to see either more from Harmer in terms of his defensive work rate or somebody else potentially supporting Burrows out there?
So I'm biased on this. Gus is free of criticism, in my opinion, because he is our version of a Delta Rat. in terms of give him the ball in the opponent's half. Do not give him the ball in your own half. Don't let him be spraying balls and starting counter-attacks. Let other people do that. Keep him high up the pitch. Let him work his magic. And I've always had that opinion of him because he's a match winner. People are still criticising his form, and he's had 5 assists in his last 4 games. He is the only player at Sheffield United that could have that sort of form and people still be like, is he at his best at the moment? He's on fire in terms of the passes that he's picking out, the crosses that he's putting into the box. He causes problems going forward. So he's a forward-thinking player, in my opinion. So I think to make up for that, you put Hjelde in, who is more defensively minded than what Harrison Burrows is. He's a bigger and more imposing physical presence than what Burrows is. 6'2", big lad, Scandinavian, scary dude. So he's. And I've liked what I've seen of him so far as well. He's worked hard. He's no nonsense in terms of he doesn't overthink things. He just gets the ball forward. He knows that he's not the most capable with the ball at his feet. So let him pass it to Gus down left-hand side and let Gus work his magic, and then let Hjelde do the defensive side of things. Because it's not going to be a game where we're going to have a really, really high line and we're going to try and press Portsmouth to death. You're not going to be able to do that at Fratton Park. They're going to go toe-to-toe with you on that front. I think we're going to have to absorb some pressure at times and then spring on counter-attacks. So to do that, I think you need Gus further up the pitch, not tracking back every 2 minutes. And I think people need to be realistic that because he does track back at times, he doesn't do it all the time, but he shouldn't be doing it all the time. He is the maverick of the team, and he's the one that can make things happen from absolutely nothing. When you're looking to somebody, you look at the pass that he played on Monday night for Bamford. Name me one other player in the team that can do that. Yeah, there's none. It's inch perfect. There's nobody that can do what he can do. So let him do his thing. Don't try and change him as a player. He's got him this far, and this is the reason that we love him for the player that he is. Let him do what he does.
Interesting. So I think that takes us to our predicted 11 or our preferred 11, depending on which way you want to look at it. Cooper in goal, a back four of Sarike, Tanganga, Binden, Hjelde, a midfield 2 of Peck and Phillips. We then stick with the 4 up front: Brooks, O'Hare, Harmer, Bamford. And if we go with something like that, I think we have to be feeling pretty confident. But in terms of feeling confident, we'll go into our score predictions. But before we do, let me just thank our video sponsor, Shazbat Designs, for her long-time support of the Sheffield United way. She's an awesome pyrographer and she makes unique hand-burnt wooden gifts. She's a huge blade, and like I say, she's been a massive fan of the Sheffield United way for the longest time, and we massively appreciate everything that she does. I've used it before to make gifts for my friends, for my family, and they've always loved it and they've looked fantastic. So please do go and check out shazbatdesigns.co.uk and use the code Sheffield United way at checkout for a bit of a discount. So, score predictions. And now, before I get your score predictions, I'll give you a minute to think. I'll go through everybody in the Patreon and what they've said so far. So, Richard Grayson thinks that it'll be 3-0 to the Blades. Ben said he was going bold and has also gone for 3-0, as has Steve B. Raggy went a bit further. He thinks United will win this game 4-0, while Andy Bennett, Cal, and Jimmy Chief, I don't know if he likes that nickname. I've just come up with it, and I'm going to keep calling him Jimmy Chief, so I hope it sticks. They've all gone for a 2-0 win. Now, United haven't kept a clean sheet. I think it's 9 games. We're on one of the longest runs in the country in terms of teams going games without keeping a clean sheet. And everybody else in the Patreon thinks that'll continue. So Scott, Brad Eyre, Mark Hooper, and the gaffer, In Good Nick, have all predicted a 2-1 win for United. Paul Duggan, he thinks it's going to be 3-1, while Will.i.am, not that one, and James have both predicted a 1-1. So we've got a lot of confident Blades. We've got a lot of people who think this will be a walkover. We've got some that I think maybe are more realistic in terms of where they're seeing, particularly in regards to United conceding in this one. Andrew, we'll come to you first. Score prediction for Saturday.
So I've done 2 on these previews now, and the one that I said we'd lose, we won, and the one that I said we'd win, we lost. So maybe you don't want me to pick. 2-1, I think, because I think we'll probably take the lead 2-0, and then they'll maybe come at it and get one, make it a bit nervy for 10 minutes, and then we'll just see it out. probably, if you were to go for goal scorers, probably Brooks and Harmer.
I like it. I don't mind that. Connor, where do you stand on this one?
I'm going 3-1. I'm going 3-1. I think we'll have enough quality to put Portsmouth to the... I'm hoping, because their form at home is really, really good. But I think we're at a point now where a lot of fans have written this season off, don't get me wrong, but I don't think Wilder and the players have written it off just yet, obviously, hence why we brought in a Kalvin Phillips, etc., etc. So it's do or die at this point now. We do need to start winning games away from home because our away form has been absolutely shocking this year. So, yeah, I think this is either going to be make or break. We'll either put a run together from here, win 3-1 like I've predicted, and then get a real go at potentially getting the playoffs by the end of the season. Or they could quite easily just not turn up and lose comfortable 2-0 or 1-0, and then that's it, season over. But I'm being confident, 3-1. I'll go Bamford, Phillips, Gus.
Oh, I love that. Honestly, when you said Phillips, I came alive in the chair. Where do I think on this one? I think Portsmouth definitely score. I have no doubt in my mind around that. I think United are the better team. I think based off the last 15, 20 games, I've seen enough from United to suggest that we're a really good side in the division at the moment. I think we've left ourselves too much to do now, if I'm being honest, in terms of the playoffs, but there's no reason that we shouldn't give everything we've got, particularly in these next few weeks, to get the pressure on, get as much momentum as we can to try and push ourselves there. I think this one's going to be KJ, but I do think we win. I'm going to say 2-1 to United, and I'm going to say Tanganga and Bamford in terms of our goals. Set pieces were off on Monday, but I thought we've been brilliant in recent weeks until then. So let's predict we'll get back on the set pieces, and that's why I'm going Tanganga. Now, the last thing just to mention is that we have had somebody in the chat just suggesting, in terms of the weather, the experience we've got with Portsmouth, everything that's going on with them this season, that there is a chance this game doesn't go ahead. So just to all United fans who are travelling down, just check your weather apps before you go. Try and make sure that you've got everything you need in case there is an issue. And obviously, if we hear anything at all on the channel, we'll get comms out as soon as we can. I'm sure United and everybody else will get there first. But in case you follow us instead, we'll try and make sure that we say anything that we know in terms of whether or not the game will go ahead. So there we go. There you have it. Match preview for Valentine's Day. Connor, love you. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you very much for being with us today.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much for having me.
Andrew, my other love, thank you very much for spending today with me. Hope you have a great Valentine's Day. Hope you enjoyed the stream.
Yeah, I feel a bit secondary now, but, I appreciate it.
Yeah, the issue there was that I just started talking to Connor first, at which point whoever goes second was going to always feel less love. But I love you both equally, like two beautiful sons. I don't know where I'm going with that. I need to stop the stream.
I'm going to say stop.
Weird. Right. Thank you very much, everybody. Let us know your score predictions and your team prediction in the comments below. More than anything else, if you are traveling down to Portsmouth, hope you have a safe journey. Hope you get there okay. And I hope the game does go ahead. Have a fantastic end to your week, and we will see you soon. Up the Blades.
Ale, ale, ale. Ale, ale, ale.